You know, we all have failures. We all make mistakes. It's a very familiar experience, and it's something we avoid. We avoid talking about. We avoid admitting to the mistakes, uh, and and so they sit in our subconscious, and we don't do anything with them. We've all experienced some kind of a setback, made a mistake. We've made a decision that has led us up the wrong path. And I can tell you that these moments of disappointment, discouragement, embarrassment, defeat, it can lead to something great. It can be a catalyst for something extraordinary. And so in this series, we're going to discuss small and large mistakes and failures, and our guests are going to share their tips and techniques on how they overcame those shortcomings. So, as my first guest, I am thrilled to introduce Tim Wagner, no relation to me, and he's here to share his journey of finding his feet after failure. He transitioned from near burnout as a corporate executive and is now a breathwork and alchemist and international speaker. So I'm not going to say anything more about Tim. He can talk about his own story as he goes along. So welcome, Tim. It's great to have you here.
Lewis, what an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. And I'm honored to be your first. Wow, that's phenomenal.
It sounds strange, my first. So just very, very briefly, tell our viewers a little bit about who you are.
Well, who I was a corporate guy, 27 years, climbing the corporate ladder, doing the traditional thing. And after school, studied. I went into hospitality. It's what I specialized in. And focused there. I had my own businesses for many years in between as well, sometimes working full-time and a part-time business. In 2008, after I was retrenched, I decided to go all in for myself for the first time. Did okay, but got sucked back into the corporate world, chasing the big dollar, chasing the big money, effectively selling my soul to the devil for 7.5 years. And in 2018, so it's just over 6 years ago now, was when, due to, as you mentioned, near burnout, I was very fortunate to get out before I hit that point, although I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what burnout was then. That was in 2018 that I left because of the amount of stress that I'd been under for so many years and needed to go and find myself. Who am I? What's my purpose? Why am I here? Asking those questions which people ask when they come to that midlife crisis, time of life. And I've transitioned and adapted and learned greatly due to mistakes, failures, of which I now look back and go, they weren't failures, they were life lessons. And that's led me to where I am today and where I'm still going, as I'm by no means close to where I want to be or who I want to be.
Well, that's great. I love the idea that you've got life lessons. So, Tim, can you start off by sharing a small failure, a small mistake, or an embarrassing situation that you experienced?
Sure. Yeah, pick one. Most of them are big. So let's see. Yes. I've done since 2018, I get invited a lot to do presentations and talks. And I'd connected with a lady over the telephone and invited her to come to a presentation that I was hosting. This was before COVID, so it was live. And I met a lady who I thought was her before we went in. Now, I knew this lady that I connected with was pregnant. And so I said, "Hi, wonderful. How far along are you?" And she replied, "No, I'm not pregnant. It's my sister you spoke to. She's the pregnant one." Here I am. She's come out to see me as the presenter. And I've already embarrassed myself. I hide sheepishly. That I still remember as an extremely uncomfortable situation. Does that count as a small mistake?
Absolutely. I think that's a mistake that many, many people have made. when they see a slightly bulgy tummy on a woman and they assume she's pregnant. So yes, it is a mistake people make. So how did you overcome that mistake? What did you do to overcome your embarrassment?
I begged forgiveness immediately, and she laughed it off. I don't know if it was just externally, but internally she was upset. I'm not too sure. And I ended up by not knowing what to do and how often that actually happens. I snuck away. And I don't recall ever having seen her again, coming to mind now. Whether she did do anything and join me in any way, I'm not too sure. I can't remember. So what the story was that she set out to other people, I don't know. Sits there in the universe somewhere.
Well, we all make those smaller mistakes that we think, does it need an apology? Is it something we need to even reflect on? But I say, yes, we need to reflect on it. We need to learn that life lesson. I'm sure you've never made that mistake again.
Oh, definitely not. No. Now, unless the lady brings it up, I say nothing about babies or no babies. I learned that one.
Fantastic. All right, so let's share. So tell me about the big one.
Sure. Well, the big one, I thought it was the big one, was walking out of a 27-year career in hospitality.
Before we go on, just walking out of that, you made a decision to change direction in your life.
Yes. So, yeah, I mustn't downplay it. It was the most difficult decision I'd made in 27 years of my career. It was that incessant buildup of stress. And we understand that in business, stress is a part of life. Shareholder demands, employee demands, economic chaos, customers. That's part of life. What I had no idea was back then was how to actually deal with this daily stresses around me. And I was taking it all on, running a multi-million rand business with hundreds of employees. I was it. I was the be all and end all of the business. So that was that consistent ongoing pressure that was building up over time that I didn't know really what to do. Sort of stress is a part of business. Suck it up, get on with it. You cannot reflect it externally. So I had a mask. And every morning I'd wake up, brain in a fog, wishing I was sleeping, could have another hour's sleep, and feeling my stress levels rise. Foggy brain. Don't talk to me for the first hour or two because I'm not going to make any sense to you whatsoever. And in the end, it was a matter of losing my family, because that was the family life was in tatters as I was never home. The business was already suffering because I couldn't find solutions to the problems, not being able to focus and concentrate. The relationships at work were in tatters and just getting worse and worse. And my health was tanking fast. So it was a choice I had to make. Stay or go. And one night, it was just over 6 years ago, it was in April, chilly April night. I got up and I said, that was it. It was never as easy as that. There was massive arguments with the owner, whose business I'd been running for seven and a half years. It was a few choice words that I will not put out live. And I couldn't do it anymore. It was a decision that I had to make for myself. And I had to go back and reflect on who I was because I had no idea. So,
the fact that you stayed there for so long and the last years maybe weren't so good, would you consider that a mistake or a potential failure?
No, not now. At the time, I thought I should have got out earlier. But now, this is over 6 years later, so it took me about four and a half years to really understand what had happened to me. And then I started to accept that that was part of my life journey. And I needed to go through that in order to become the person that I am now and where I'm going. So there's a reason for every perceived failure. But it took me 4 years to learn it and really start to understand and that. So I wouldn't go back and change any of it. Although at the time, I thought I should have got out of here actually a year ago.
I think that's a very important lesson to understand. When you make a decision, that decision you make is the best decision you can make based on the knowledge that you have at that time. So you can't say, well, it was a bad decision. At the time, it was the greatest decision.
100%. Yes, it was. Even though you may question yourself at that point, you need to stick to the decision that you're making.
And so explore a little bit more about this midlife crisis and the financial and family failure.
Well, I was 47, 48, 47 when I walked out. So, yes. And it led to a lot of questions that I wanted to try and find myself as why am I here? What is my purpose in life? I'd always followed the same career path. And I asked, well, what led me into hospitality in the first place? And if I'm not getting that same satisfaction or goal out, then that's also one of the contributing factors to my buildup in stress. Because I was not happy in that environment. I was not finding value in the environment. I wasn't finding a purpose in it because it'd been lost years before. So it was, very much a lot of introspective analysis on identifying, well, why am I here? Where am I going? What is my purpose? And that took me over 4 years of discovery, including after the whole COVID pandemic started to sort of even out in 2021, where we decided to sell our family home, wife and I, a beautiful home that we built, and to travel South Africa just to find our freedom and for me to discover who am I and why am I here? Because being stuck in that one environment of that controlled space just wasn't doing it for me anymore. So we traveled for a year and a half. And that was one of those huge change points of my life as I started to uncover and discover
who is Tim Wagner and what is your purpose?
I love that question. So my purpose ended up by being something that I already knew, but I didn't know I knew it until I found out. For years, I've loved disseminating information, applying it in my life, and then coaching, teaching, and sharing it with others based upon my own life experiences. And if other people find value in it, teaching them what I've learned. So it's the disseminating information, sharing, coaching, and teaching. I love doing that, be it on stage, be it one-on-one podcasts. And it was that realization that I need to take at that point, about 14, 15 years of experience in personal development growth that I've been learning for so many years, and package it and put it together. So that's when I started to find my true passion and said, right, I want to now start sharing this from stage, be it a virtual stage, as we are now, or a real stage, that there is life outside of stress. There is options outside of stress for you to start living a more fulfilling life that I didn't know back in 2018. And if I knew then what I know now, isn't that the story? How different would our lives be?
Absolutely. Sure. So you came up with the slogan, stress less to live more. Expand on that for us.
As I started to understand and unpack who I was, who I am, I stumbled across breathwork, which was one of those life-changing moments. You know, those ones where it's just an epiphany, the light bulb goes on, and you go, this is what I've been missing. I just didn't know it was breathing. Sounds ridiculous, right? And I started to learn what had happened to me those years before, that when you're in a stressed state, you breathe poorly. You actually overbreathe. You breathe through your sympathetic nervous system, fear, fight, flight. And when you breathe poorly, it increases your stress and anxiety. And when your anxiety and your stress is increased, it affects how you think, how you feel, and how you react to situations, that you start doing it poorly. So as I'm starting to investigate and understand this, I'm unpacking what had happened to me those years before, and I'm realizing, but I've never been taught how to breathe to lift you when you're feeling tired, and how to calm you when you're feeling stressed. And that these breathing modalities, and even deeper than that, there's actually a way to get into the access to your subconscious mind, to change the triggers on how you react to certain situations. And that really fascinated me, Lois. It really did. that our triggers are based upon our past experiences, past traumas, past your parents handing down their fears and doubts to you, siblings, government, teachers telling you you're stupid, you can't do this. All of this stuff becomes ingrained and creates our personalities and react a certain way. Let me give an example. You'll come across a situation and breeze through it. I'll come across the same situation and it'll stress me out and worry me and freak me out. Same situation, two different people reacting very differently. Why? And that was started to be the big question I was asking. To take this then into the corporate world, say, but there's something that you can do, take 60 seconds to change your entire feeling state, calm you, so that then a stressful situation just becomes a situation because you're not reacting internally due to an external circumstance impacting you.
Well, can you help me? I'm very stressed right now because my cat keeps coming and interfering. How can I breathe to relax myself out of this situation?
You're going to love this one. I love saying this to people because it gets their attention. Shut your mouth. It's as simple as that. And I'm being kind, not rude. I've got your best interest at heart. Because when we're stressed, if you think about somebody who's anxious, having a panic attack, how do you breathe? In and out your mouth rapidly. So what's the first thing you do to just start calming your whole nervous system? Shut your mouth and breathe through your nose. The first, most simplest act for anybody who's stressed. You don't take a deep breath into your chest, your mouth, because you're breathing into your chest, which aggravates the feelings of stress. Breathe in your nose, which breathes into your belly. Longer and calm out your mouth, which then creates a little bit more resonance between mind and heart. As simple as that is the beginning part. And then you could always stroke your cat because cats are very calming.
Not when they're interfering and getting in front of the camera. All right, so the first thing is to shut your mouth. Yes, so can you give us a 60-second example of breathing? Can you demonstrate?
Sure, definitely. One of the most famous ones, most popular for its reason of the not only the simplicity but the greatest impact, is actually called box breathing. So box breathing is used by firefighters and it's used by the armed forces who are living in high-strung, high-stressed environments for long periods of time. And because of the society that we live in, where you're inundated with information overload and social media and traffic and family and all these demands that get thrown onto us, our nervous system needs a little break. And so one of the best ways to do it is box breathing. Should we share it now? Should we do it for 60 seconds?
Yes, please. Sorry, I just had a bit of a coughing fit there.
No problem at all. I'm just getting out my timer here quickly. So everybody listening can follow on. What I'm going to basically do is just describe to you quickly and then time you for 1 minute and listen to my voice. So you're sitting peacefully, calmly, your feet flat on the floor, hands wherever next to you on your lap. You decide where that's comfortable. Don't do this while driving. That's the only recommendation that I have for you. And you can either keep your eyes open or closed, entirely up to you. You breathe in for the count of 4 through your nose. You hold for the count of 4. You breathe out to the count of 4 through your mouth, and you hold to the count of 4. And then you repeat. So it's in through your nose, hold, out through your mouth, hold, in through your nose. Ready? Wonderful. So I'll count you in from 3 to 1. And when I'm counting you in, just let out your breath, close your mouth, and then breathe in through your nose. And I'll count. And 3, 2, 1. Breathe in through your nose. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Out through your mouth. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. In through your nose. 2, 3, 4. Out through your mouth. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Out through your mouth. Hold. In through your nose. Hold. Out through your mouth. Hold. In through your nose. Hold. Out through your mouth. Now you can just take a breath in and a big sigh and relax.
Where's my cat?
And this is one of those magnificent breathing techniques that for my clients, I encourage them to do it at least 3 times a day before you need it. Because in that moment that you're feeling that anxiety and that stress and that build up and you're just getting red and red and angrier, you're not going to remember to do this. So you need to start building in a habit of becoming a conscious, connected breather. So put a reminder on your phone that flashes up 3 times a day: morning, lunchtime, evening. Breathe. Practice it so that in that moment of anxiety and stress, you will naturally start to go, okay, and literally in 60 seconds, you'll change your entire state. And one of the big reasons for the benefit of it is that when you're in that stressed panic state and you're breathing in your chest and you're breathing fast and your heartbeat goes up and your blood pressure goes up, which is what our bodies are designed to do, it also starves your conscious thinking brain of oxygen. Which is why there's no point in having a rational argument with anybody who is angry, because they're not thinking rationally, which is not physically, humanly possible. So to find the solution to your problems and challenge and issue that's at hand, when you're stressed and anxious and breathing fast, it's just not going to work. There we go.
Great. Well, breathing, I love your expression, conscious connected breathing. I love that. Okay. So any other tips that you have for people to overcome when they've made that mistake, when they've experienced that failure? How do they overcome that?
That's an excellent one. The way that I've looked at myself and my past experiences, and by no means was did walking out of the corporate career become the worst. I'll use mistake for now, mistake that I've made. I've made many more than that. Losing a family's fortune your family's wealth and money is a pretty big one in itself. When I look at it, I'm changing the paradigm of how I see a mistake or an error or an issue or a problem at hand. When you change your approach to it, you realize and you go, okay, that's a lesson. What happened here? And one of the big things for me, after I left the corporate world, I started many different businesses. I made a lot of money 4 times and lost more money than I made, 5 times in the end, as a result. Now, I can look at that and be extremely depressed, frustrated, angry. I broke the trust of my wife. At the age of 49, you're turning around and going, okay, how do we can't afford milk for our tea, that type of situation. How do you come back from that? Well, you got to learn from the mistakes you've made and go, that's a lesson. So in all the times that I've lost money, those are what I call my expensive university fees. I may not have a formal degree from a university, but I've got way more life experience degrees that cost me way more than a degree would cost the university anyway. So it's a matter of having a look and changing your paradigm. Just the same way as a stressful situation does not have to be a negative, right? Lois, we see stress as negative so often. But what if you could change how you see it and turn it and say, it's a sign. The reason why I lost money was a sign. It was a signal from the universe, God, the creator, Buddha, Allah, whoever you look at. But that is a sign. What is that sign telling me? And mine was telling me, I'm going the wrong direction. I'm not following who I am intrinsically inside, what my true purpose is in life. One of the reasons I got so stressed and anxious working in the corporate environment, one of them, was because I was finding no satisfaction from that. So everything that happened became stressful. It was no longer easy and peaceful and joyful to do. I'd lost the joy. So it became more stressful. So then I started to align my values, my purpose in life to what I actually do, to see that these are just all signals. Procrastination, stress, failure, what doesn't work, what are all just signs. And when you get to read them, you go, thank you for that sign. I've learned now to change direction.
So if I can summarize that in my own words, it starts with self-awareness, understanding your purpose and your values, and then working towards that.
100%. And if you're feeling that weird energy, that stress building, and you're going, oh, it doesn't feel good. Now, this is a corporate guy talking, who specialized in massive events. I'm not a feeling guy. I'm a strategic player. That's the world I grew up in. That's the world I learned in. It's a number. It is what it is, black and white. Now I'm looking and going, but hold on. If this doesn't feel right, stop and ask why. You may find it's because you're going the wrong direction. Again, you're listening to your inner feeling state. That's self-awareness, which too often in corporate, and I find this from my clients all the time, we block out that self-awareness and listening to our heart, brain, or our gut. And we try and do everything from the 6 inches between our ears, which is not the best way, but it's the way that we think that we're meant to do it and we're taught to do it.
What can you do to help people lessen their stress? What do you offer?
I like to utilize breath work as getting underground inside and not treating the symptom, but treating the cause. In other words, if you have a migraine, you take a pain pill, take a Panado. Okay, you feel a little bit better. But why did you get the migraine in the first place? So with the specific style of breathing that I specialize in called transformational breathwork journeys, it's a 60-minute deep breathing exercise in combination with NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, and music to really access your subconscious mind. Because in the subconscious mind, that's where all the programming sits. And in that environment, with your conscious thinking mind out the way, you can then go into deprogramming yourself. A lot of people say reprogramming. I like deprogramming, because in that place, your subconscious mind can release the habits or traumas or thoughts that don't serve you, which are the triggers to causing you feeling stressful in the first place. So that's the key area that I want to help. And in that way, literally in 60 seconds, you can actually feel not only a whole lot stress, but you're going to be able to sleep better, function better, think more freely, find solutions where you only found problems. And I've got multiple clients. Like a client a few weeks ago, he came to me. He did one of my breathwork journeys. He came to me 2 days later with a beautiful glow on his face, trying to be angry. And he said, "What did you do?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "I tried to get angry with the taxis this morning. Every day I shout at the taxis. You took my road rage away. They cut me up." I went, I said, "What did you do? I feel so calm." It was wonderful. He was laughing. Now, there's no get well quick scheme, but you can get beautiful, very fast results when you're actually in a calmer state, because then, like I've said already, you go into a stressful situation and it just becomes a situation. So that's what I specialize in. Putting people in a place where they're... Sorry, carry on.
Sam, it's a great topic to start the series off with, because if we start with reducing our stress, we can overcome most things.
So true, you can. And we're not taught this in India and China and the East, yes, they're still taught it a lot. But we're not taught this, how to actually handle it, and that stress is actually an emotion, because stress comes from internal, not external. We live in a very stressful environment, but it's our reaction to the stress that causes us the stress. So if you change how you react to it, then it's not stressful. But we're not taught this. And yes, Lois, the simple thing with starting with your breathing, as crazy as it may seem, if you're listening to this, you think, really, can my breath really make that difference? Just try that box breathing out for 60 seconds and then tell me.
I certainly will do that. Tim, how can our viewers get in contact with you?
I'm on LinkedIn. I offer complimentary sessions as well, so you can find the links for that once a month. And I'm very happy to connect with anybody. We'll put my details out for a connection call, just 30 minutes. Tell me a little bit about what your greatest problem is: fear, doubt, worry, concern, stressor, and let's see if I'm the right person that can guide you through that. Very quickly, we'll work out. And then I've got programs, depending on what you're looking for, to help you go from who you are now to who you'd actually like to become in the end. And there's a gap there. And my goal is to help complete that gap and be on a journey with you through this process.
Fabulous. I'll put all the links in the description below after this. And if any of you out there would like to come and share your story on finding your feet after failure, I'll put my information into the description below. And you're also welcome to contact me also through my LinkedIn or my Calendly link to also have a 30-minute free discovery call to discover how you can overcome your mistake or failure. So I am Lois. I help you find your feet after failure.
Amazing. Lois, thank you very much. Privilege.
Thank you, Tim, very much for sharing that. And I'm feeling a lot more calm and relaxed. And I wish you well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, everybody. Bye.